Imagine this. You walk into a place, any place really, and the service isn't just good, it's breathtaking. It goes way beyond efficiency, you know. It bypasses mere competence, and it leaves you thinking, wow, how did they do that? It felt, well, magical.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Not just functional, but genuinely unforgettable.
Exactly. Today on the Deep Dive, we're pulling back the curtain on exactly how those extraordinary moments get crafted, how you transform the everyday into something truly remarkable.
That's right. Today, we're really digging into these powerful, almost audacious concepts. Unreasonable hospitality from the fine dining world, and also the sort of timeless principles of practical magic from Disney.
Right.
And our mission here in this deep dive is to pull out the core ideas, the principles that let these pioneers completely redefine the guest, the customer experience.
And show how it applies more broadly, yeah.
Absolutely. We'll show you how these insights apply, whether you're running a business, big or small, managing a team, or honestly, even just navigating your daily interactions, your personal relationships. We're talking about how going that extra mile, going above and beyond, can fundamentally transform your whole approach and create this profound sense of belonging for everyone involved.
Okay. And to guide us, we're looking at two real giants of experience here.
Definitely.
First, the really transformative, sometimes pretty challenging, journey of 11 Madison Park. A restaurant that didn't just get famous, it literally reinvented fine dining, right?
Big time.
And then the enduring, always evolving principles of the Walt Disney Company. Both just legendary for their guest experiences.
Unparalleled, really.
So, yeah, get ready to maybe rethink everything you thought you knew about service. Okay, let's jump right into the core idea, the foundational difference that kind of changes everything. Service versus hospitality.
Right.
When most people think service, what comes to mind? Usually a transaction, right?
Yeah, doing the job.
It's competence, efficiency. You go to a restaurant, you order, get your food, pay the bill. Done. It's functional. It's precise.
Black and white.
Exactly. There was this great story about a job applicant who, when asked the difference, just said, service is black and white.
Simple, but brilliant.
It nails it, doesn't it? Fulfilling an obligation, doing the job properly. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. We need that.
Absolutely not. And that black and white approach, it works fine for tons of interactions every single day.
Yeah.
But hospitality, that's where the color just explodes onto the scene.
Okay.
It's not just what you do, but fundamentally, deeply, about how your actions make people feel.
The feeling.
Yeah. Creating an experience that feels, bespoke, tailored, often going way beyond what's expected, making it truly memorable. It's still an act of service, sure, but it's infused with emotion, with connection, maybe even a touch of art.
So that analogy, service is black and white, hospitality is color, it really captures that shift from just function to feeling.
Exactly, from task to art, almost.
Yeah, that's a powerful distinction, really. It does make you wonder, though, how practical is this Technicolor approach for, say, a small coffee shop or a local bookstore, places with limited resources? It can't all be grand gestures, right?
No, definitely not. And that's a great question.
Where do you even start building something unreasonable, especially when the stakes are high? Like they obviously were for 11 Madison Park. Because this whole radical idea, this unreasonable hospitality thing, it didn't just pop up fully formed for them.
Oh, not at all.
It was forged in, failure, pretty public failure, actually.
It's quite an origin story. And yeah, it underlines how often our biggest breakthroughs really come from our lowest points, our deepest disappointments.
Okay, so what happened?
The big turning point for 11 Madison Park, EMP we can call it, was back in 2010. They were ranked 50th dead last on the very prestigious World's 50 Best Restaurants list.
Oof, number 50.
Out of 50, yeah. I mean, picture it. You're in this huge auditorium packed with the global culinary elite, your heroes basically, and they're all watching as you find out you're last.
Oh, man.
It's this huge, public, profound disappointment. Will Guidara, the co-owner, he talked about it with brutal honesty, like moving through the 5 stages of grief right there on the hotel steps in London, just overwhelmed by this massive perceived failure.
Wow, 50, dead last. That's soul-crushing. You can almost feel that weight. But, okay, instead of crawling into a hole, you're saying they somehow used that moment as a launch pad for something huge.
Precisely.
Because back then, the big names, right? Ferran Adria at El Bulli doing molecular gastronomy.
Yeah, all the phones and yells.
Or Rene Redzepi at Noma with the foraging, the super local stuff. They were innovating the food.
That was the focus, absolutely.
But EMP pivoted. They decided to innovate hospitality itself.
And that's the genius move right there. In that rock-bottom moment, that feeling of total humiliation, this incredibly bold vision starts to form, literally scrawled on a crumpled cocktail napkin.
No way.
Yes, we will be #1 in the world. Just like that. And then, crucially, 2 words were added, words that sound almost like a contradiction, but would define their entire future. Unreasonable hospitality.
Unreasonable hospitality. It sounds, well, unreasonable.
Exactly. Godard often said that word unreasonable was first thrown out almost like a joke, like, that's so crazy ambitious, it's unreasonable, it'll shut us down.
Right.
But they didn't let it shut them down. They grabbed it. They adopted it as their call to arms. They recognized, as Godard put it, that no one who ever changed the game did so by being reasonable.
That's a great point.
He'd point to people like Serena Williams, her relentless drive, or Walt Disney's sheer vision, or Steve Jobs and his groundbreaking innovation. These were people who dared to be unreasonable in chasing excellence.
It's amazing how that perceived weakness, that unreasonable label, became their superpower.
Totally.
And for them, it clearly wasn't just about getting an award #1. It was about building a team, creating something that made a real impact by making people feel like they belonged.
That sense of belonging, yeah.
And that's why this story hits home, I think, no matter what field you're in. So, okay, if you're listening and thinking, how do I build my unreasonable approach? You might be surprised where it starts.
Where's that?
Not with the customer, apparently. It starts inside.
Yeah.
Within your own team.
Absolutely. This is where the core philosophy really locks in. The fundamental belief, and they stated it with real conviction, is this. If you want your frontline teams, your employees, the people interacting with customers, to obsess about how they make those customers feel, then you, as the leader, have to first obsess about how you make your employees feel.
Wow. Okay, so it's internal first. Hospitality begins at home, sort of.
Completely. It's this radical inside-out approach that then ripples outward. Creating a real culture of hospitality means you're constantly, actively asking, how do I make my team feel genuinely seen, valued? How do I give them that sense of belonging, that feeling they're part of something bigger than just clocking in and out?
How do you make them feel welcome every single day?
Exactly. All of that.
So it really is an inside-out job. That internal focus, that care, directly impacts the quality, the authenticity of what the guest experiences.
No question.
It really pushes back on that old idea that hospitality can't be taught, that you're either born with it or you're not.
Right. It shows it can be cultivated, nurtured.
But when you say cultivated, does that mean everyone suddenly becomes magically warm and fuzzy? Or is it more about giving people the tools, the framework to express their inherent warmth more effectively? How did they actually do that?
That's a great point, and it brings us right to a really powerful tool for building this culture. Language.
Language, okay.
Yeah, while genuine warmth might be part of someone's personality, the consistency and the deliberate application of hospitality, that can absolutely be taught and reinforced. And a master of this was Danny Meyer.
The Union Square Hospitality Group guy, Shake Shack founder.
That's him. He was brilliant at coining phrases around common experiences, potential pitfalls, favorable outcomes. These weren't just slogans. They were repeated constantly, becoming this kind of verbal shorthand for core ideas, almost like a secret teen language.
Okay, so it creates this shared understanding.
Exactly. This shared language builds culture because it makes the essential concepts easy to grasp, easy to teach, easy to remember. It embodies what Meyer called enlightened hospitality. This pretty radical idea that taking care of each other, the team, comes before everything else.
Right. Can you give an example?
Sure. A simple but profound one is the shift from asking a late employee, "You're late. Why?" Which sounds like an accusation.
Yeah, puts them on the defensive immediately.
Right. To asking, "You're late. Is everything okay?"
Concern, not accusation.
Exactly. That tiny linguistic shift extends what they called a charitable assumption, assuming good intent to colleagues just as much as to guests. It fosters empathy, builds trust, and, surprise, surprise, leads to better service overall.
It changes the whole tone.
Completely. And their new hire meetings. They weren't just about rules and procedures. They were more like college orientations, focusing on the why behind things, not just the what. It signaled right away. Words matter here. Intention matters. You're joining a community.
That's really interesting. And you see echoes of that in Disney too, right? With their specific language.
Oh, absolutely. Disney has mastered this. They have their common purpose. We create happiness. It's everywhere. Badges, memos, training.
Right.
And their foundational quality standards, safety, courtesy, show, and efficiency, constantly reinforced. These aren't just words on a poster. They define the mission. They communicate internally. They shape the whole image. They give every single employee, from the person in the character suit to the engineer fixing a ride, a clear focus.
So this clear, consistent language keeps everyone on the same page. They know the values, they can deliver better hospitality to guests and each other.
Exactly. It even helps with a self-compassion, extending that charitable assumption to yourself, too.
Okay, so you've got this internal focus, this shared language. What else is crucial for building that foundation? Trust and ownership seem like big ones.
Huge. You mentioned Randy Garutti earlier, who became CEO of Shake Shack. Goodar worked for him early on. He described Garutti as this wildly positive presence.
Yeah, infectious energy.
Totally. And Garutti believed in letting your energy impact the people you're talking to, as opposed to the other way around. That kind of genuine positive leadership. It naturally builds belief and ownership in the team. It's contagious.
You want to be part of that.
Right. And Goodar himself really focused on building that sense of ownership. He took inspiration from a colleague who had this really clear, almost fierce dedication. She said something like, look, I'm clear about my job. It's to do what's best for the restaurant, not necessarily what's best for any one of you individually.
Okay, that sounds a little harsh.
Yeah,
Maybe.
it can sound that way at first, yeah. A bit counterintuitive. But think about it. What it does, paradoxically, is it clearly defines the leader's priority, the collective vision, the restaurant's success, the guest's experience.
Okay.
And by doing that, it creates an environment where what's best for the restaurant, usually, is what's best for the individuals on the team. Because a thriving restaurant means stability, opportunity, success for everyone.
Right. A rising tide lifts all boats.
Exactly. It empowers the team to make decisions within that larger framework. It fosters shared purpose, real responsibility, not just doing tasks, but owning outcomes.
That's a really interesting perspective on leadership. When employees feel that clarity, that ownership, yeah, they're going to be more engaged, more motivated. They'll go the extra mile because they see how their work connects to the bigger picture they own.
Precisely.
But how do these big ideas, culture, language, trust, actually translate into, the day-to-day, the nitty-gritty of the guest experience? Does it just come down to being obsessed with details?
I think obsession is probably the right word, yeah. Fanatical, almost. This is where the concept of aggregation of marginal gains really comes into focus. It became a defining philosophy for EMP's operations.
Marginal gains, like in cycling, Team Sky.
Exactly. They were heavily inspired by Sir David Brailsford and his revolutionary approach with British cycling. His whole thing was, you don't aim for one giant leap. You find hundreds of tiny things you can improve by just 1%.
Diet, pillow, bike seat texture, everything.
Everything. And those tiny gains add up to significant overall improvement. So EMP took that idea. Instead of being paralyzed by the impossible goal of perfection in something as complex as fine dining.
Yeah, where so much can go wrong.
Right. They aim to do many things perfectly, lots of small perfections. And this philosophy led directly to their famous 95-5 rule.
The 95 for 5 rule. Okay, what?
Manage 95% of your business down to the absolute penny. Optimize every process, squeeze every efficiency, be meticulous, and then strategically, consciously spend the last 5% foolishly.
Foolishly, that sounds completely backwards. Spend money foolishly.
It sounds it, but it's anything but foolish, really. Udar shared this brilliant example from when he worked in the Museum of Modern Art, MoMA.
Okay.
By being super aggressive, managing that 95%, negotiating hard on supplies, streamlining everything, cutting waste, he then had the budget, the freedom, to splurge on these incredibly beautiful, tiny, expensive Italian gelato spoons.
Gelato spoons, seriously.
Seriously. A tiny detail, right? Seemingly insignificant, maybe even foolish. But he said it had this outsized impact on the guest experience. People, even the head of the museum, would stop and comment on these little spoons. They noticed. They felt the extra touch.
Wow, it wasn't about the cost, it was the unexpected delight.
Exactly. It's about identifying your gelato spoons. Where are those overlooked, maybe low-cost touch points in your customer's journey where a tiny bit of extra care or surprising detail can create a disproportionately positive emotional reaction?
Like the packaging. Or a follow-up note.
Could be anything. The hold music, the way the waiting room feels. It forces you to think beyond pure efficiency and map the emotional journey. That 5%, Gadara called it some of the smartest money they ever spent.
Okay, I'm starting to see it. And these small, impactful details, they go beyond just spoons, right? They permeate everything.
Oh yeah, every corner of the experience, even the stuff you don't consciously notice. Excellence in this view is found in chasing down every detail, no matter how small, how subtle.
Like the crisp uniforms, the gleaming silverware, the obvious stuff.
That's the visible layer, yes. But it's also the less obvious things. The way staff move, the way they communicate. Think about it. When your team is super confident in their knowledge, they know the menu inside out. They anticipate needs. They understand the pairings. Their brain power isn't tied up scrambling for info.
Right, they're not stressed about forgetting something.
Exactly. So that mental energy, that bandwidth, can go entirely towards connecting with the guest, reading their mood, anticipating their next desire. That's the alchemy. That's when excellence transforms into true hospitality.
And they even innovated the subtle stuff, the background choreography.
Totally, like using baseball-style hand signals for water orders. No shouting across the room, just silent, seamless, faster service. Or establishing invisible traffic patterns for how staff move through the dining room. They called it ballet, not football. Creating this sense of calm and grace for the guests, even when it's busy.
Ballet, not football. I like that.
And then there's the 1-inch rule. Love this one.
A 1-inch rule.
Yeah. If a chef plates a dish perfectly, but the server jostles it in that last inch before it hits the table, the whole presentation is ruined.
Right. All that effort lost at the very end.
It's literal, but also metaphorical. It's a reminder. Stay present, follow through, nail the landing. Every single time. That last inch matters.
That 1-inch rule, that intense focus on subtle details, it really resonates with Disney's concept of everything speaks, doesn't it?
Absolutely. John Hench, one of the original Imagineers, was huge on this. He stressed how every single detail in the physical environment, the setting, sends a message. The design of a doorknob, the texture of the pavement in Adventureland versus Tomorrowland. It all has to be consistent with the story of the show.
It's all part of the immersion.
Exactly. And their famous separation of onstage, the public areas, and backstage, the operational areas, the employee break rooms, that serves the same purpose. It maintains the illusion.
You don't see Goofy taking a smoke break.
Precisely. It would break the magic. So these subtle, often unnoticed elements, they create this consistent, high-quality, immersive experience that keeps people coming back. And importantly, it also creates a sense of calm and order for the staff, too.
But sometimes chasing these details, aiming for that perfection, it requires a really big shift in thinking, doesn't it? Especially when dealing with guest preferences. It must have been tough for EMP, in pursuing excellence, to just let go of being right.
Oh, it's a massive hurdle. Huge. Especially in fine dining, where chefs, sommeliers, everyone prides themselves on precision, on knowing best.
Right? The ego is involved.
Hugely. But true hospitality, the kind they were aiming for, means serving the guest's perception, not your own technical expertise or your pride. The mantra they adopted and lived by was crystal clear. Their perception is our reality.
Their perception is our reality. Okay.
So the classic example. A guest says their steak is undercooked, even if, technically, the chef nailed a perfect medium rare according to the thermometer.
It doesn't matter what the thermometer says.
Exactly. The only acceptable response, the hospitality-driven response, is, absolutely, sir, I'm so sorry. Let me get that fixed for you immediately. No arguments, no justifications.
And then fix it how they perceive right.
Yes. And then, crucially, take proactive steps behind the scenes. Make a note in the reservation system. Mr. Smith prefers steak medium rare, but likes it cooked closer to medium. So next time, you anticipate it. You prevent the issue.
It's not about admitting you were wrong. It's about making the guest feel heard and cared for.
Precisely. It builds instant loyalty, deep trust. It turns potential conflict into an opportunity to actually enhance the hospitality. It recognizes that satisfaction is subjective, it's emotional, and the guest's feeling is paramount.
And this deep dive into understanding the guest, it's not just an art form, right? At places like Disney, it's practically a science? Guestology, they call it.
Guestology, yeah.
Yeah.
And Walt Disney was a master of it long before anyone coined the term. He famously said, you don't build it for yourself, you know what people want, and you build it for them. He was obsessed with his audience.
So what does guestology involve?
It's basically 2 key types of information you need to gather constantly. First, demographics.
Okay, facts and figures.
Right. Factual, quantitative data. Who are your customers? Where do they live? How old are they? How much do they spend?
Yeah.
Family size. The what.
Got it. And the second type?
Psychographics.
Yeah.
This is the qualitative side, the why behind the what.
Ah, their mindset.
Exactly. Their needs, their wants, their expectations, their biases, even their emotional state during the experience. What makes them tick? What are their anxieties? What delights them?
And Walt really did this.
Oh yeah, famously, he'd poll kids, like a young Kurt Russell, about movie ideas. He wanted the actual perspective of his target audience.
Wow.
And he'd literally watch guests from his apartment window above Main Street in Disneyland. Just observe their reactions, see where they got confused, where they looked happy, figure out the flow in real time.
That's dedication. Are there modern examples?
Sure. That story about Cherie Barnett of Glitz Salons is great. She wanted to create salons just for tween and teen girls. So she ran focus groups with 10 to 16-year-olds, got their input on the design, the services, even let them help create the logo.
Smart. Go straight to the source.
Exactly. This deep understanding, both the numbers and the feelings, it creates the baseline. It's how you figure out how to consistently exceed expectations and create those tailored, memorable experiences. It drives improvements everywhere.
Okay, so armed with this deep guest knowledge, places like Disney and EMP can then intentionally design how they deliver the service, not just what they deliver.
Precisely. And Disney has a really clear framework for this. They identify 3 fundamental service delivery systems that have to work together perfectly for a seamless experience.
Okay, what are the 3?
First, the cast. That's their term for employees, the people.
Right.
Second, the setting, the physical environment, the atmosphere, all the visual and sensory cues.
Makes sense.
And third, the process. The policies, the procedures, the workflow, how things actually get done.
Cast, setting, process. Okay.
And the real magic, they say, happens in the integration. All 3 have to be aligned, woven together tightly to achieve what they call quality service.
And the guests shouldn't even notice the system's working.
Ideally, no.
Mm-hmm.
The infrastructure supporting it all should be intentionally invisible. The guest just experiences the smooth, effortless outcome.
Okay. Are some combinations more obvious than others?
Yeah, they call them headliners. Like the cast is naturally suited for delivering courtesy. The setting is perfect for creating the show, the atmosphere. And the process is key for efficiency.
Cast for courtesy, setting for show, process for efficiency. Got it.
But the real innovation, the upper level, comes when you distribute those service standards, like courtesy or show, through the unexpected systems.
How does that work? Give me an example.
Okay, think about their integration matrix tool. Imagine you're mapping this out. How does the setting deliver courtesy? Maybe it's comfortable waiting areas, clear signage so people don't feel lost or stressed. How does the cast contribute to efficiency? Maybe it's anticipating needs so guests don't have to ask, or knowing processes inside out to speed things up.
Okay. So you're pushing each element to contribute to all the quality standards, not just the obvious ones.
Exactly. It highlights those moments of truth where you can optimize. This holistic view ensures every single touch point, whether it's a person, a place, or a procedure, is pulling in the same direction, creating that consistently excellent experience. That's what builds real loyalty.
And a huge part of managing that setting piece, especially for Disney, is that strict separation between what the guests see and what happens behind the scenes.
Oh yeah, the onstage versus backstage distinction is fundamental for them.
Onstage is anywhere the guest can see or experience. Backstage is everything else.
Right. Operations, break rooms, deliveries, costume changes. And this separation is crucial for several reasons. First, obviously, maintaining the illusion, the show. You don't want delivery trucks rolling through Fantasyland.
Feels the mood.
Totally. Second, cost efficiency. Backstage areas don't need fancy theming or expensive materials. And third, it gives employees a vital space to relax, recharge, prepare away from the guest gaze. But importantly, even a poorly maintained backstage area can subtly undermine the message of quality. If things are messy or broken behind the scenes, that attitude can seep on stage.
Right, consistency matters everywhere. But EMP did something interesting with this concept, didn't they? They kind of blurred the lines.
They did, in a really cool, controlled way. They took the chef's table, which is usually located right in the kitchen in a definite backstage, high-pressure operational area, and they turned it into an onstage experience.
But not just for VIPs.
No, that was the key. It was available for any guest who expressed interest. Not for a whole meal, that would be chaos, but for a single small course, standing up right there amidst the intensity of the kitchen.
Wow, like a quick peek behind the curtain.
Exactly. It allowed them to pull back that curtain in a way that didn't disrupt the magic, but actually enhanced the guest's appreciation for the skill and artistry involved.
Right.
It was integrated. not jarring.
That idea of a curated peek behind the curtain that feels applicable everywhere. What backstage elements might your customers be curious about? How your product is sourced, the passion of your team. How can you share that in a way that adds value, adds to the story?
It's a great question for any business to ask.
Because, let's face it, even with the best plans, the best culture, the most detailed processes, things go wrong. Challenges pop up. Setbacks happen.
Always.
And the real test of these principles, the strength of the team, is how you react when adversity hits.
That's profoundly true. And EMP faced a massive test during the 2008 recession.
Yeah.
It was brutal for fine dining.
I bet.
They were struggling financially, seriously, to the point where profits from Shake Shack, their much more casual sister restaurant, were basically keeping EMP afloat. But Will Guidara credits his father with this piece of advice that became their mantra through it. Adversity is a terrible thing to waste.
Adversity is a terrible thing to waste. Powerful.
Isn't it? So instead of panicking or slashing quality or laying people off, the focus immediately shifted to creativity and innovation. How could they cut expenses without hurting the guest experience or team morale?
Okay, so how did they do that? What were these raindrop cost cuts?
They were small, often invisible things that added up, like the linen cloths on the pass where plates waited. Instead of using 2 cloths and replacing both when the top one got dirty, they figured out a way to just peel off the top one, revealing a clean one underneath. Simple, cut laundry costs, guests never noticed.
Smart.
Checking dishwasher settings, were they using too much soap? Literally cutting paper towels in half in the staff restrooms. Tiny things.
Every little bit helps.
One harder cut, he said, felt like a hit to their pride. They switched from those classic, tall, disposable paper chef hats, the toques, which cost thousands a year, to washable cotton skull caps.
Less iconic, maybe.
Yeah, it felt less fine dining maybe, but it was financially smart and necessary. Godard actually kept a journal of all these frugal hacks because he knew that sense of urgency, that clarity you get in a crisis, it fades. Perspective has an expiration date, he said. He wanted to remember those smart savings for later.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Capturing those crisis-driven innovations, it really shows how a strong culture, that trust and ownership we talked about, lets a team be creative and resilient under fire. It lets you fight another day and come out stronger.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just about cutting costs. They also had to actively engage the team, generate new energy, new revenue streams. Morale can dip fast during tough times.
Right, you need positivity too.
So EMP actively looked for ways to keep the team fired up, bring buzz back into the restaurant, get people in the door. Even if the profit margins weren't huge initially, this was the moment to fully flex creative muscles, have some fun, maybe apply that 95 for 5 rule to invest in some high-impact, lower-cost experiences.
And they did some cool stuff, right?
Oh, yeah. They introduced this gorgeous, elaborate dessert cart, wheeled right up to the table. Very theatrical.
People love a good cart.
They do. Dessert sales apparently jumped 300%, just like that.
Wow.
They launched these $29 lunches, incredible value for a place like EMP. It brought in tons of people, created buzz, vital energy, and crucially, it meant the team got more hours. Nobody got laid off.
That's huge for morale.
Massive.
Yeah.
And they even threw this completely over-the-top Kentucky Derby bash, full-on Southern theme, horse-shaped topiaries, mint juleps flowing. It was a huge hit.
Sounds fun.
Right. These things didn't just bring in needed cash, they reignited the team's spirit. Reminded everyone of the joy, the creativity, the fun that's possible in hospitality, even when times are tough.
And that creative energy, it extended even to how they motivated themselves internally, right?
Yeah.
Especially when chasing those big external goals like the top ratings.
Exactly. As EMP was gunning for 4 stars from the New York Times, the pinnacle at the time, they couldn't just, coast for 364 days and then magically turn it on for the critics' visit.
Consistency is key.
They had to be on peak performance every single night, because you never knew when the critic might walk in.
So how did they maintain that edge night after night?
They came up with this really clever, almost playful internal strategy. They designated one random table every single night as the critic of the night.
The fake critic.
The fake critic. And that table got the full, hyper-attentive 4-star treatment, exactly as the real critic would.
Like what?
In the kitchen, Chef Daniel Hum would fire 2 of every dish for that table, inspecting both, sending only the absolute most perfect one out.
Wow.
They'd assign the best servers, maybe even 2, so there was no discernible pattern.
Right.
Every tiny detail was scrutinized for that table.
And the insight was?
Godar's insight was profound. It doesn't have to be real to work. The idea of the critic being there was enough to elevate everyone's game.
Like Michael Jordan inventing grudges to motivate himself.
Exactly like that. Creating stakes even when maybe there weren't any external ones that night.
So this internal game helped them raise the bar for every table.
That was the outcome. It transformed that potential anxiety about external judgment into this powerful, consistent internal driver.
Yeah.
Excellence became the habit, not the exception. And these deliberate efforts, this constant drive, led to moments that went beyond just great service. They created legends.
Ah, the legends. Okay, this sounds like where unreasonable hospitality really comes alive, the surprise and delight going beyond the transaction.
Totally. It meant actively stripping away anything that felt purely transactional, like those confirmation calls. They weren't just, "Are you still coming?"
Right.
They became intel-gathering missions. Try to find out subtly if it's a birthday, an anniversary, where they're visiting from, so you could greet them personally, make them feel recognized the second they walked in.
Smart little touches.
Kudari even talked about fantasizing about getting rid of menus altogether. Just have a
Yeah.
conversation. Because hospitality is a dialogue, not a monologue.
That's pretty radical for fine dining.
It is. And one truly revolutionary example of killing the transaction was the ticketless coat check combined with the cognac moment.
Okay, tell me about that.
At the end of the meal, instead of the awkward dance of asking for the check, waiting, getting coats, they flipped the script. As they presented the check subtly, respectfully, they'd also bring over an entire bottle of high-end cognac and 2 glasses, placed it right on the table.
An entire bottle for every table.
An entire bottle. Now, obviously, most people didn't drink the whole thing, but the gesture, it did 2 brilliant things. 1, guests never felt rushed. There's a bottle of cognac. Linger. 2, they never had to ask for the check or wait for coats. It all happened seamlessly. It just blew out the conventional service model by giving more, not less, creating this incredible feeling of generosity, abundance.
Wow. That's definitely unexpected and generous. It completely changes the feeling at the end of the meal from, okay, time to pay up and leave, to something else.
Something relational, not transactional.
Yeah.
It leaves this lasting impression of care, thoughtfulness, and surprise.
And this personalization, this care could go even further, right, into creating those truly unique legends.
Yes. The legends were the bespoke, unforgettable moments. The stories guests would tell for years. And they often came from just paying incredibly close attention. Sometimes, yeah, maybe borderline eavesdropping on conversations, looking for those little openings for bespoke delight.
Okay, give us some examples of these legends.
Well, there's a classic one from Spago, Wolfgang Puck's place. A regular mentioned offhand how much he loved his armchair at home. So Puck had an exact replica made and kept it at the restaurant, just for him whenever he dined there.
That's amazing. Talk about feeling seen.
Right. At EMP, they overheard some European guests chatting, saying they were leaving the next day and were disappointed they hadn't tried a classic New York dirty water hot dog from a street cart.
Okay, so what did EMP do? Send them to a cart?
No. The kitchen got one, plated it beautifully, maybe with some tiny gourmet versions of mustard and relish, and sent it out as a surprise, unordered final course. Their last taste of New York.
That's brilliant, taking something humble and elevating it through care.
Exactly. And then there was the Dreamweaver program. They actually had a dedicated studio space, fully equipped, with artists on call.
Artists. In a restaurant?
Yeah. Creating personalized gifts on the spot, like a watercolor painting of a guest's meal for a food writer, little bags of chocolate coins for a visiting banker. They even apparently made custom-engraved Nerf guns for a famous chef who visited and mentioned offhand he collected them.
Nerf guns! That's hilarious and amazing.
Isn't it? In today's world, where people value experiences often more than possessions, these legends create this incredible memory so good it enabled them to relive their experience long after. It taps into that deep human need to feel truly seen and heard. And bonus, it hugely inspires the team creating these moments.
It gives them creative agency, too. But okay, these legends sound incredible, but obviously very bespoke, maybe resource-intensive. How do you scale that kind of improvisational magic?
Great question. You can't have an artist painting every meal. So the goal becomes how to systemize improvisational hospitality. Create a toolkit.
A toolkit for hospitality.
Sort of. It starts with pattern recognition. What are the recurring situations, the common needs or moments that happen in your business? Tourists asking for recommendations, people celebrating birthdays, guests rushing to the airport.
Okay, identify the patterns. Then what?
Then you proactively prepare materials for those situations. You organize them so staff can access them easily. And this is key. You empower your staff to use these tools without reading 5 levels of approval every time. The value isn't about spending tons of money. It's about the pricelessness, the thoughtfulness, the relevance, the surprise of the gesture.
So what was in EMP's toolkit?
Things like +1 cards, pre-printed little vouchers or tickets to slightly over-deliver in common scenarios, little custom maps highlighting cool, maybe lesser-known NYC spots for tourists, a couple of tickets to the Empire State Building kept handy, even little airplane snack boxes nicely done, for guests they knew were heading straight to JFK or LaGuardia after lunch.
Ah, practical and thoughtful.
Exactly. And think how this applies anywhere. The real estate agent who carefully removes and frames the door jamb section with the kids' height marks from the house her clients are selling.
Oh, that's lovely.
Or provides a bag of those plastic outlet covers for new parents moving into their first home. A year's AAA membership for the teenager getting their first car from your dealership. A can of surf wax for the guy buying an SUV who mentioned he's finally taking up surfing again.
These are premeditated acts of kindness, almost.
Exactly. Premeditated hospitality. It lets you scale the extraordinary so more guests get these personalized touches. And it frees up your team's energy, their leftover bandwidth, to focus on spotting those truly unique opportunities, the ones that become the real legends. These gifts, big or small, they shift the interaction. Transactional becomes relational. They tell people, we saw you, we heard you, we recognized you.
This relentless drive, this embrace of the unreasonable, it powered EMP's journey to #1. But it wasn't a straight line up, was it? There were definite bumps, like that Michelin guide thing early on.
Oh yeah, big setback. The very first New York Michelin guide came out, huge anticipation. And EMP wasn't even listed. Not 1 star, not even mentioned. Devastating.
Ouch. Again?
Yeah. But they learned, as Godard put it, to turn toward tension.
Yes.
To lean into the discomfort, the disagreement, the challenge, instead of avoiding it.
So what does that look like in practice, turning toward tension?
Well, after a disappointment like the Michelin snub, a leader's job is to navigate the team from that feeling of disappointment to motivation. To clearly state the new, maybe even more ambitious goal, even if it seems crazy far-fetched at that moment. That's when they declared, okay, forget the stars for now, we're going for #1 in the world.
Audacious.
Totally. And it applies to internal friction, too. Like, there was this ongoing debate about using decorative charger plates under the main plates. Some felt they were beautiful, elegant. Others felt they were just heavy, impractical, got in the way.
Hospitality versus efficiency, again.
Exactly. Instead of shutting down the debate, they embraced the tension. Sometimes the solution was a third option, like designing a charger plate that actually had a little indent, perfectly sized for the amuse-bouche bowl, making it both beautiful and functional.
A clever compromise.
Or, sometimes if they reached a deadlock, the rule became, whoever cared more about that specific issue got their way. Which sounds weird, but it actually built trust, showing respect for passionate viewpoints.
Okay, that's interesting. Letting the person with the most passion win sometimes.
It fostered ownership. So that Michelin snub, it fueled the #1 goal. The charging debate. It forced innovation by highlighting that core tension between hospitality and excellence, forcing them to integrate, not choose. Adversity, disagreement, they aren't just problems, they're fuel. They're opportunities for innovation, stronger bond, clear goals.
And this constant push, this willingness to reinvent, even after they started getting accolades, that was crucial too, right? They didn't just sit back.
Never. EMP was defined by continuous reinvention. Even after they got 3 stars from the Times, got onto the world's 50 best list, and started climbing, they kept evolving, learning from wins and losses, constantly tweaking the menu, the service style, the interactions, no resting on laurels.
Didn't they get a pretty tough review later on, even when they were highly ranked?
They did. Pete Wells, the New York Times critic, wrote a review famously titled, "Talking All Around the Food," that basically said the service had become too much, too scripted, too many interruptions, too stilted, too bloated with explanations.
Ouch. After all that effort.
Yeah. But they didn't dismiss it. They listened. Humbly, they adapted. They cut back on the lengthy spiels for every dish. They realized, yeah, maybe 90 interruptions over a 15-course meal is a bit much, however well-intentioned. They streamlined, made it more elegant, less overwhelming.
So they kept refining. What was the ultimate goal of that final reinvention?
Godard said they wanted to combine the excellence and luxury of classic 4-star dining with the surprise and delight, the fun of a more casual experience. Marry that deep care and attention with a sense of irreverence and informality. The goal, to be the 4-star restaurant for the next generation. Wow. always pushing. It's a huge lesson in organizational agility, isn't it? Staying at the top or even just relevant means constant self-reflection, humility to take criticism, and the guts to change, even when things seem okay, when they're not broken, evolving with your guests, with the times, never getting complacent.
And all that relentless pursuit, that excellence combined with truly unreasonable hospitality,
Yeah.
it finally paid off.
It did. In 2017, 11 Madison Park was named the #1 restaurant in the world.
Amazing. And wasn't there something significant about who accepted the award?
Yes. Will Guidara, a self-described dining room person, front of house focused, was the first person ever to accept that top award on behalf of a restaurant. Usually it's the chef.
So that symbolized the shift.
Exactly. It underscored this profound change in focus. From just the food to recognizing the nobility of service, the power of the holistic guest experience. Guidara summed up their whole journey perfectly. It was our pursuit of excellence that brought us to the table, but it was our pursuit of unreasonable hospitality that took us to the top.
Wow, what a story. So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, it's clear that unreasonable hospitality, practical magic, it's all built on this deep foundation, right?
Absolutely. Deep intention. A vibrant internal culture where employees feel valued first. That relentless, almost obsessive attention to detail. Empowered teams who can take initiative. And just a profound empathetic understanding of the guest, both rationally and emotionally.
And it's not just about spending big bucks or grand gestures. At its core, it's about transforming those everyday transactional interactions into meaningful human connections, recognizing the person in front of you.
That's the heart of it, making people feel seen.
And as we've heard throughout, these ideas go way beyond fancy restaurants or theme parks.
Right. Oh, completely universal. Retail, finance, healthcare, tech support, education, anywhere humans interact with other humans.
The lessons apply, focusing on making people feel seen, valued, like they belong. Going that extra inch, turning challenges into chances for creativity, it works everywhere.
It really does.
So as you're listening, maybe a final thought to chew on. What unreasonable thing could you do? What could you do to inject more color, more magic into your work, your team, maybe even your personal life?
Good question.
What small, thoughtful detail could you add that might seem minor, but could have that outsized, memorable impact? Remember what Will Guidara learned. Nobody knows what they're doing before they do it. You've got to have faith in your ability to figure it out.
Yeah, you learn by doing.
The biggest growth often happens when you step outside that comfort zone, when you dare to be a little unreasonable. So the question is, where will your unreasonable journey take you?